Hello, hello, welcome in TWP Popcorn. I'm trying to tell you that is so generous that you dropped that link. I really appreciate that. I hope you had a great Friday Eve. Today is Thursday, April 17th, 2025. And listen, this is really kind of like the end of the week. Tomorrow is Good Friday, so it was a shorter week, but there's still lots to be done. So, just hopefully you'll have some good times with yourself, family, friends, whatever the case, and treat yourself good. I was listening to a content creator today, and she was saying that she's on a health love, not a health kick or not trying to lose weight but trying to gain that love and just having a different perspective of things in life. But I know this is April and graduations are coming upon us. Graduations from high school, from colleges, even from grade school moving up to middle school moving up to high school. And that what's next, that anticipation, that unknown is, I know, running rampant through everyone. There's so much going on, not just with the young people, but with the world. There are people out here, in the workforce. Maybe they were out of the workforce for whatever reason, maybe caring for loved ones, parents, children, themselves, and they're trying to re enter the workforce and they are more seasoned and they're wondering, is there a place for me? Am I too old? Have I timed out? And then there are the young people entering the workforce for the first time or seriously for the first time. They may have had some great opportunities with internships and working, part time while going to school, but this is a full time, real time opportunity. And, they're like, how is that going to land? Am I going to land that perfect opportunity, that perfect position? Will I have enough experience? Will they value me as an employee, as a contributor? And so I just wanted to come on here and just give some tips about the what's next. Let's just talk about it. What's next after graduation? And as a seasoned career coach, I talk to people, I work with people, I assist people with mobility within their careers. And it's at every level from novice, entry level to well seasoned, experienced level, high level to low level, and all in between. People are trying to pivot within their careers and, are trying to figure out what is it that they want to do next. I've had doctors as clients and turned out that they prefer the teaching element of being a doctor of medicine, teaching clients or patients, more about the medicines that they're taking or their health, and they prefer that over the actual practice of it. So that's a different pivot and it's a different mindset. Sometimes when people get a certain level of credentials, if you're graduating from college, from getting your master's, your bachelor's, your doctorate degree, your JD, whatever the case, sometimes there's expectations from society, there's expectations from your family, your friends that, okay, you went to school all these years and you need to have a job in the field that you went to school for. And that could be a lot of pressure because sometimes, and it may be while you're actually in school, you almost sometimes will look up and say, you know what? I don't really prefer this major or this course of study. I'm not really feeling it. I thought I would, and it's not something I really want to do. I know my center child, my middle daughter, she went to North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro, North Carolina. It's a HBCU. It's the largest HBCU in the country, largest in population, in enrollment. And her freshman year, she started and she wanted to major in science, in biology, and minor in business because she wanted to be a dermatologist and have her own practice, but not just have her own practice. She also wanted to go into real estate. and buy the building and own the commercial property, as well as own her practice. And that was her goal as a freshman graduating from high school. And so she went to college, and her freshman year, she was on the track for, a biology degree. And at some point during the spring semester of her freshman year, she had decided that she no longer wanted to major in biology. She wanted to just major in business and marketing, and wanted to just focus on that and go into real estate. And the end of her sophomore year, the spring semester of her sophomore year, COVID happened. And she came home, and it was maybe March or April. I think it was April of 2020. She came home, and after that semester was over in May, she also enrolled in real estate school. She went to real estate school online during that summer from May until August, and she got her license in August and got on with a firm in September, October, and from her junior year, and went back to school as well, but she was home for that year because of COVID. So that was the fall of 2020. She came home, was home, and she was doing her real estate, was part of the firm. And as you all may know or may not know, real estate then was really popping. A lot of people were purchasing homes, and a lot of things were going on. And so she still was in school. And then her senior year, she was, doing very well in real estate, coming home. She, by now, August of 2021, schools were letting students come back to live on campus and such. And so she came back, went back to school, and was coming home on the weekends to do her real estate, graduated with her bachelor's in marketing and business, and continued to even to this day, almost 4 years. It is 4 years later, 4.5 years later, and is still doing the real estate. So she had her plan set a long time ago. She was on one track, but pivoted and went on another track. Wasn't too far off, because again, her minor was business. But not a lot of people graduate with such intention, understanding from an early age, exactly what they want to do. And even if they do, sometimes when they get into it, they decide, I really don't want to do this, because she had wanted to be a doctor for many, many years. And so when she changed the major, we were all surprised. But this is something that she prefers. And you know what? In the future, if she decides that she wants to change back, she absolutely can. She'll have to go back to school and, take the prerequisites and such, but that could be an option. So I just don't want graduates to feel like they are pigeonholed because maybe all their life they said they wanted to be a lawyer. All their lives they said that they wanted to be a doctor or engineer or something like that. And then they get into the program and they realize, if this is something I'm going to be doing day after day, I really don't think this is aligned with me. And that's why I think it's so important earlier before high school graduation, but around the eighth, ninth grade, to start taking interest assessments. If you are a parent, there are free ones on site that the Department of Labor puts out. The one I recommend is called My Next Move. And that one is free. It is an amazing site. It helps you navigate through all different types of careers, of what it takes to be in that career. It gives you summaries so you understand what that person in that role would do on a day to day basis, what credentials you may need. You may not even need a degree, you may just need a certification or just a certain amount of experience. What type of technology do you need to know and be proficient in order to do that work? All of that is going to be very important to understand. And you would take a assessment that will align you with that perfect career for you. And it's not just one, it'll be a variety of careers that you can choose from. that will really help you give that will give you lots of options. And I'm finding that a lot of people, especially young people, they want options. They don't want to be pigeonholed. That's why they're saying the younger generation coming into the workforce, the estimated time of them staying in one position or one with one business is about 2 years, and then they're starting to look around and see what else is out there. But you know what, before you do all of that, look and see what else is right where you're at. And I'm noticing too, just in my line of work, is that young people are coming in with a degree after graduation, land a job that's relatively entry level. It's a little bit above entry, between entry and mid level, and they are doing the work, but they're being told what to do still. They're being tasked and directed. And after a certain amount of time, like after maybe their 6-month probation, they look up and are like, okay, now I want to be a manager. And they are not yet qualified, but they feel they are because of their credentials of having that degree. But I've coached some. I've coached some employees that had that mindset. And my question was, what are you bringing with you as a manager? Like, what experience are you bringing? What skill set are you bringing? And it is it's interesting, they always stand on that degree. Oh, well, I have my degree. Okay, what else do you have? And I remember one young person had said to me, well, I was a manager at CVS and I managed the inventory, and I made sure that the shelves were stocked, and that when the packages arrived that they were put in the right order. And I'm like, okay, but you're saying you want to be a manager of a whole situation, like a whole industry. And that is something that takes more time. That takes way more experience than just stocking shelves, at CVS. Not putting that down, but you have to be realistic with your goals and understand that it takes baby steps sometimes to get to that next level. That's why in my programs, I always have people at all different levels of their careers to come and speak to the new people that are coming in, to speak to them about their career journey, where they started. Many of them started right out of high school, right out of college, entry level, and moved up in the ladder, being promoted and recognized for the work that they've done, the contributions that they made, the value that they added. And that is how they moved up over time. So that when young people see where they're at, they're not just trying to get from A to Z. They're not trying to immediately be in that office in the corner with the beautiful view. They understand that it's going to take time. And so, as parents, all along, having those conversations right when they're getting ready to graduate is not the time. I want to say almost, it's never too late. Let's put it that way. It's never too late. But the sooner you can have those real talk conversations with them, those realistic conversations with them, the better. Letting them know, okay, you have your high school diploma. Okay, you have your college degree. You know, your next step is to continue to learn. You're not going to just stop learning right there. You have to be a lifelong learner, and you want to absorb everything that you can. You want to be a sponge so that, people recognize that you are an active listener. You take down notes. You implement things that people tell you. There's some people out here that ask questions just to ask questions. It's like someone told them, oh, you know what? If you want to act like you're listening, if you want to be attentive, if you want to, be in the moment, ask questions. Okay, asking questions is a great thing. But if you ask questions and you do nothing with the answers, then what's the purpose of asking that question? Some people are disruptors in that way. They will just disrupt the whole situation just to ask a question that has nothing to do with it, and it throws everything off. So again, you want to be mindful with that. Being an active listener means that you are listening, you are responding, you have something to contribute, you're thinking, you have intention, and you're being innovative and creative with your conversation. If you see something that needs to be done, you can do it, you're right there with it. If you see something that needs to be done, you take initiative. You don't always have to be told to come and help and participate. If you see someone with a larger workload and you are just twiddling your thumbs, you jump in and say, how can I assist? Is there something I want to learn how to do that? Have a level of curiosity. So no matter what level you are, and listen, people always assume when you talk about a bachelor's degree, graduating from college, getting an associate's degree, bachelor's, or so forth, that it's just young people. There are many people, well seasoned people, that are going back to school to get their degree. I work with many of them in coaching, coaching them to go back to school. And a lot of them have not been back to school in 20, 30 years. And, when they were in school 20, 30 years ago, they did never thought they would have the opportunity to go back to college. And here they are. And so they need more coaching, they need more assistance, they need more uplifting, and maybe their circle is not giving it to them. So when they graduate, it's a big deal. And so graduating is not just for the young, it's for all ages. So, with this conversation about graduating, and let's talk about what's next, it's not just for the 18, 21, 25-year olds. This is for people of all ages, because people of all ages are graduating, especially this coming May and June. And so I know that you have your degree, or you are probably getting fitted for your cap and gown, and you're just so excited. You feel like the next day life is going to change. And it may, but then it may not. And you have to be prepared for both. So if it changes the day after, what are you going to do with that? If it doesn't change the day after, what are you going to do with that? And the way that the world is, especially this country, with so many people, with a lot of experience that are now laid off and are trying to figure out their what's next, there's a lot of competition. So, when you are graduating, know that you have a wealth of resources that a lot of people that are in your area may not have, and or may not even tap into. So, if you're graduating from college, well, let's go into high school. You have three opportunities. You have an opportunity to enroll in college, to enlist in the military, or to go to work to start your career. Now, you'll be, 18 if you're not already, and you have your whole life ahead of you. And I know that there are many young people that want to be social media famous. They want to have that fast money, quick money, and that's all they can focus on. But you know what? In the meantime, until that hits, you still have to have something solid, something that is going to be tried and true, paying you week in, week out, every other week, once a month, whatever, but you know that is coming. And you want to start developing that mindset of having multiple streams of income. When I'm coaching people and they're like disgruntled with work or whatever, or maybe when COVID happened, it hit them so hard because they were just relying on that one opportunity. I always tell them, and I especially told them then, this is why you have to have multiple streams so you're not so reliant on one stream. So I never discourage young people that want to be social media famous. I'm always like, yeah, okay, but and what else? What other type of business or stream of income are you going to have? Which one of those are going to pay your medical bills? Which one of those are going to be for your vacation? Because if you're reliant on just one thing coming in, and if it's not killing the game 7 or 8 figures, then you definitely want to have multiple streams. Even if it is 7 or 8 figures, you still want to always have multiple streams. So when one drops, you're not, flailing around. And so with high school, you want to make that decision of which track you want to go on. And you want to, really do research, have conversations with people, look things up. Listen, you have Google, you have AI that you can really do that research, that deep research. Work closely with your career development coaches that you have, your counselors at your schools, your high schools, and let them know, listen, you may not have seen them all 4 years. Hopefully, you have. But if you haven't, you definitely want to tap into them right now, even if you weren't slated to be in their line of vision for whatever reason. You make yourself seen. You make them know who you are and let them know that you are looking for an opportunity. There are wonderful registered apprenticeship opportunities out there that will pay you while you learn a new trade. Also, it will also pay for your education, so you have an opportunity to go back to school to get credentialed in whatever industry that is and whatever that occupation is, and you don't have to come out of pocket. With if you go into the military, you have the GI Bill that you can rely on to pay for, to further your education after you leave the service. And so you want to definitely have your next move mapped out and look for all of the options. There are some incredible opportunities out here, especially for young people coming out of high school. Now, if you graduated from college, I'm hopeful that you tapped into your career services office day one. For my three young adults, that's one of the first buildings I wanted to get in contact with when we stepped onto campus. Where is career services? Now, for those of us that are old school that went to college back in the 1900s, I graduated in 1991. So for us, career services was a little different. It was an office. It had people in there. You were able to sit down, talk with them. They took their time with you. They helped you with all the things that you needed. You were able to be in constant contact with them. That's not how it is nowadays. It's even challenging for me because I have a lot of great opportunities for college students, and I reach out to the different schools in my region, and I can to find the person or to even have them reach back out to me is really challenging. They always direct me to, and for those of you in college, you probably know what I'm getting ready to say, but they always redirect me to Handshake. And Handshake is a platform. It's similar a little. Well, it's like an education for college students platform. It's not necessarily social media. I don't want to say it's not quite like LinkedIn, but it's a place where a college student can communicate with an employer. There's over 550,000 employers on Handshake. And there's over 10 million students that are registered on Handshake because now what a lot of schools are doing as freshmen when you come in, registering with into Handshake is part of your orientation. And so when you set up your profile on Handshake, I encourage you starting freshman year to visit that site often. They have online virtual meetings, they have workshops, they have virtual career fairs. There's opportunities to, speak with groups of people from different organizations and businesses, and just to get yourself out there, put a name with the face, become familiar, increase your social capital, stay in contact with those that you connect with on Handshake, those businesses. And those businesses, there's a lot of them that primarily use Handshake for their recruitment purposes because it's an easy platform to use. They're able to post their positions, they're able to screen and filter their candidates right there. So they kind of hang out there. A lot of recruiters hang out on Handshake. And when I talk to students that I know, they don't utilize Handshake to its fullest potential, and I'm just like, what is going on? Why are you not? Now I there are students that I am aware of that use them, but they're not in my immediate circle. And so I'm always encouraging those young people, and even if you're an adult and you went back to school, you are still capable to use Handshake. I know that as a student, Handshake is free to use, And a lot of schools are allowing the graduates to use it up to 1 year for free. Some of them continue in this of is free indefinitely. You just have to make sure that your school email address is active. There are some schools that allow you to change your email to your regular personal email so that you don't lose that connection. But that's really important to stay connected with that. You can also see on Handshake the companies that have alumni from your school that work there. So you can reach out to those alumni and make that connection with them and say, hey, I attend the same school that you attended. I live in, it could be as simple as I live in this dorm. It could be as simple as I'm originally from this state or this area, and it might be something similar to them. And that would make a good connection. And oftentimes, when you make that type of connection, especially with an alumni, they will look out for you. They will help you. They will be a referral for you. They'll recommend things to you. So you want to make those connections. Now, since you graduated, you're graduating coming up, I want you to also remember to stay involved or get involved and then stay involved with your alumni association. Every school has an alumni association, but not every area has a area specific branch of it, but many do. So wherever you live in the country after you graduate, look for an alumni association in that area so you can connect with other people that went to your school and stay connected with them. Have look for a mentor as well that's in the industry that you want to go into. It could be alumni, that would be perfect. But if not, again, I talk about LinkedIn a lot because I love it. And I recommend that you go on LinkedIn and look up those companies that you're interested in and start looking through and seeing who some of their recruiters are, some of their hiring managers, and you reach out to them. You don't always have to wait for a company to have a position posted. I'm telling you, sometimes they are in meetings, at the table, and they know that they need help. But a lot of times, because they are so busy, they may not even have the capacity to um, post the position, to do that 360 recruitment process. But if you have a high level of curiosity, you take initiative and you go to them, you tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, I'm over here. Listen, I have a strong interest in your company. I love the direction that it's going in. I love what you do and what you stand for. I studied this in college and I read up or I did a project on the a product that you offer or a service that you offer, and I would love to be able to put it into practical work. I know the theory behind it, but I would love to put it into practical work. And you will be surprised. That's how serendipity is, especially intentional serendipity. When you are intentionally going to school to do a certain thing, and then the serendipity is you find the company that will be a perfect fit, you reach out to them, and it's that aha moment for them where it's like, oh my goodness, we really need someone like you. And now the connection is there, the attraction is there, and you make it happen. That's how you increase your social capital, your network. That's how you find that you are now on the level of leveling up and with economic mobility, because you will start to earn while you continuously learn, and that is the key. And even if you're not just graduating, you could have graduated decades ago from college, and you're finding that you are back on the hunt for that next position. Maybe you got laid off, maybe you're just tired of where you're at. Maybe you just retired or left that job, but you really still need to be out there, earning money, earning a living. You can do the same thing, do the same process, going on LinkedIn, reaching out to the hiring managers and the recruiters, do your research. Looking for a job today is a lot different than it was in the past. It's going to require work on your part. It's going to require you taking action. It's not going to be just sitting back and wait. Just like on the employer side, we can't just post and pray anymore. We have to post, we have to recruit, we have to go out We have to talk to our external partners. We have to share with them what our offering is and see who they have in their pool that would be a good candidate. So it's always it's a collaboration. Looking for a job now, hiring people now is a whole collaboration. So everyone just needs to meet up when they can. And the only way you're going to do that is if you're outside and being active. You're not going to meet up in the middle with anyone if you're just sitting back in your home waiting for the phone to call, waiting for someone to tap you on that shoulder. It's just not going to happen. Not 2025 or moving forward. The competition is too steep and you have to set yourself up and set yourself apart from everyone else. So if you are graduating in 2025, I want to say congratulations. I hope that you will continue on with your learning journey. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go back to acquire another degree, but look at some certifications to add to your profile. Look for certifications where you are learning things that are, emerging like AI. Look for certifications that are stackable, that's going to make you stand out that much more. A lot of employers love certifications because certifications, even though they have theory built in, they also are very practical. I've found in the past for me, when I've taken classes, certifications, I was able to implement that information that I learned right away. It wasn't something that I just, went to try and, study for the test to get the credit or whatever. No, I was actually able to be in board meetings and implement and mention and talk about some of the things that I just learned that was very relevant for today. Certifications are very relevant. Now, a lot of times when you go to school for a degree, that information has been in place for decades, and they'll talk about things that happened in the early 1900s, theorists and such, that now the things that they were talking about back then are in place, but they're still just teaching you to it. So you have to try to figure out how you can make what you're learning relevant for today. How can you, pivot it and work it in your favor so that it's just not theory, it's also practical for you. Also, think about your family circle. And I've spoken about this before, where a lot of times we have family and friends and we don't know what each other does. And you could be sitting on a gold mine, people in your circle that know people, and so you want to work within your sphere as well and see how they can support you. And it's not about, oh, can you hook me up? No, first of all, it doesn't matter if you in my sphere or not. If you are not about your business, if you are not someone that's reliable, if you're not someone that has integrity, that has a strong work ethic, I can't endorse you for anything. So you want to make sure that you are also all those things, and your authentic self is a good self. We all want to be authentic. Everyone talks about, keeping it real, being authentic and everything. But what is that for you? Does that mean that you have integrity? Does that mean that you have a strong work ethic? Does that mean that you show up not only for yourself, but for others? Does that mean that you're reliable? It does it? You have to ask yourself that. And if not, then you have some personal things to work on as well. But you definitely want to be able to be that, so that when you do go to your sphere and tell them, listen, I just graduated with this degree, this is my experiences, these are projects that I've worked on, these are competitions that I entered and won, this is what it all entailed, this is what I would love to do. I know that I don't have a lot of experience in it, but I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to work. Do you know someone that is already doing that? Or um are you familiar with this industry or whatever? And when people see that you have that you are making that effort, you taking that step, they will help you take that next step. They will. And you can start using them as a reference and they will endorse you. So you want to definitely, make it make sense. You don't want the positions that you go for. I always call it, um, you don't want to be like a grab. You don't want to be a serial applicant where you're just shooting your shot to just get in. No, you want to be very intentional. And sometimes people get impatient with with being intentional because they feel like I'm wasting time or there's not enough opportunity showing up for what I want. Well, that's good because that means when you get what you want, you'll be there for a while because apparently, it's a specialty. And if it is a specialty, do you have what it takes to do that specialty? And if not, then you have to look around and see what else do you need so that you can be more attractive for it. You know, a lot of people don't realize that things just take time and um, you might think that you don't see anything, but that's your impatience. Because I've had clients where they felt like things were just not rolling for them. They try it and then they stop. They try it and they stop. They start and stop, start and stop. And for my coaching style, what I prefer is to help a client start and complete. That is so important because when you start and complete, you look back and it might have only been maybe 4 or 5 weeks. But in the past, you've always stopped at 3 weeks or 2 weeks. That's even like with YouTube. Content creators will start something, start a challenge. And I'm talking to myself now. I know life happens and sometimes you get busy, you get tired, you just don't have time and just not fitting in for that day. And you say, you know what, never mind, it'll be there tomorrow. And there's so many tomorrows. That's the thing. And you look up and it's like 2 years later or 2 months later, and you stopped and hadn't picked it back up. So it's really important to recognize time. Time is of essence, but you look at time as each day is a year, each day is a month, and each day is just a day. And so when you do something, you set out to do it and it doesn't pop off for you in like 2 or 3 weeks and you give up, if you would have just held on for that extra week, if you would have just held on for that extra month, it would have hit. And when I say hold on, I don't just mean sit still, be quiet and not do anything. No, I mean making moves, doing what you need to do with consistency, and you really need to do it for a straight 6 months. You know, just day in and day out, doing what you know needs to be done, and that way you'll start to see the breakthrough. That's when you'll start to see the things that you had set out to achieve, to acquire, will start to fall into place, and you'll start to feel things are lighter and easier because you are making that breakthrough and the air is thinner, you can breathe, it's not as thick and heavy. And so that's what I want for all of you, especially those of you that are graduating, because I know you took that chance, you made that sacrifice to have a better chance, to have a fighting chance to do better for you and your family. And you didn't go into it making that investment of time, of money, of energy for nothing. So don't think that just because you're graduating that this is it, that this is the end, the hard part's over. There's always going to be hard parts, always. And so going through college may have been hard, going through that certification program may have been hard, going through that trade school may have been hard, going through high school may have been hard, but life has many hard times that as long as you do what you need to do and keep moving forward, you will get through it and you will be better for it. Not only you will be better for it, your family will be better for it. The community that you live in will be better for it. Your future's future will be better for it. It's incredible. Tomorrow is Good Friday, and the song that just keeps resonating in my head is Hendrick. Oh, I can't remember his name. Haddock, I think is his last name. But it's the song He Carried the Cross. And Jesus carried the cross. There's nothing heavier, there's nothing more challenging. He was on the cross, up on the cross. There's nothing more painful. There's nothing more humiliating. There's nothing more devastating than that. And he did it for you and for me so that we can have it easier, so that we can have life. And so with that, you have to know that whatever you're going through is not as hard as that. It's not as hard as that. It's not as hard as God giving his only begotten son for us. And so definitely always have that in mind. But there's always going to be that thing you have to overcome, and always know that when you overcome it, it's always beautiful on the other side. But I want you to also see the beauty of it while you're going through it, because there's so much beauty in that. I'm sure there's moments that you can look back on the times that you were in high school, on the times that you were in college, or whatever school that you're graduating from. And there were moments that were hilarious. There were hilarious moments. There were moments that were so much fun. There were moments that were emotional. There were moments that, you felt like you belonged. And I hope that you have. I hope for your sake that you have. And I hope that the people around you, supported all of the things that you were going through. And just know that if not, God always got you. Just know that. So when we talk about what's next? There's always going to be a what's next. So I don't want you to think that this is just one and done. Like, I'm done. It's over. Some people graduate from school and like, I'm not going to pick up another book. Please pick up another book. Be a lifelong learner for sure. What's next? Get your portfolio together. Understand that you need to keep your resume updated every 6 months. You need to have your resume on ready. You need to tweak your resume for each and every position that you apply for. You need to develop a spreadsheet of all the jobs that you have applied for, the name of the company, the date that you applied, the position you applied for, the amount of money that the person would make in that role. You want to write down what are some of the responsibilities for that position. When they contact you, not if, but when. Who was the person that contacted you? Did they contact you via phone or email? Did you set up a time for an interview? When is that interview? What is that date, time, and location? What was the outcome of that interview? Did you send a follow up thank you letter? All of this needs to be on a spreadsheet. You need to be taking your next step very seriously and do it like you are that business, because you are a brand. And so you have to set yourself up in a professional manner. So understanding what you're doing, what your steps are. There's so many people that will apply for so many different positions, and then when they get the phone call, the random telephone screen phone call, that first phone call you get, even though it's not a formal interview, oh, it's an interview. That's your second interview. Your first interview was your application process, applying and submitting your resume. That was the first interview, because that's the first glimpse of you that they get, the first professional glimpse of you that company is getting. So you definitely want it to be on point and speak for you, because that's the only thing that's going to be speaking for you. So that's why you need to be resume ready. Your resume needs to reflect who you are as a professional today, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today. And then when you answer the phone, because you've been applying to positions and companies, so you should be expectant. You should be expecting those calls. So when you answer the phone, because you are in the midst of applying and setting yourself up for success, don't just answer the call like, yo, or what's up, who it is. No, answer it in a professional manner. Hello, maybe even say, I always answer my phone. Hello, this is Sherri. I say my name. So however you want to do it, you want to do it in a professional manner. Be expectant. When they say who they are and what company they are with, if you did not catch it, ask them to repeat it so that you can capture it. So then when the phone call is over, you go back to your spreadsheet and you can make notation of who you just spoke with and what the outcome was. So many people are just like, I don't even know what position I applied for. I don't know who that was. I guess, I mean, I'm going to the interview, but I'm not even quite sure what the position is. You don't ever want to walk into a situation like that. You need to be very organized. Very organized. That's like part of your interview process too. How organized are you? And you want to have clean copies of your resume. You want to have maybe some examples of projects that you've worked on, and you want to quantify as much as possible. So anything that you do, look and see how it can be quantifiable. Is it, be it people that you may have worked with, collaborated with? How many people did you collaborate with? How many people did you supervise or manage? What was the amount of money that you had in your budget? How much savings did you have? How much spending did you do? What was your inventory intake like? So you want to know all these things. So your what's next is to know who you are as that professional inside and out. You want to be able to speak of what the things, all the things that you are capable of. And I have a really good worksheet that I give to my clients to help them recall all those great things that they've done, so that when it does come to that in-person interview, or even if it's a virtual interview, you're able to have those memories. Your memory is jogged with what you have done and how you can do it for them too. All right. So again, graduating, and let's talk about what's next. So I hope that I was able to give you some important nuggets. I don't ever want you to think that you are too young or too old to be part of this workforce. Right now is all hands on deck. I know right before COVID, there were 5 generations in the workforce and every one of them was needed. Right now, it's a majority, about 4 different generations in the workforce, and they still are all needed. We need more seasoned individuals so that they can share their wisdom and knowledge. We need young people so they can share their knowledge and their insight of the new things that's going on in the world, because they're more attached to it and have that flexibility for it. So always know that there's a place for you. You just have to know what you want that place to be. What does it look like? Write it down, make it plain. And that's all I have. I hope that this information was able to support you. I hope that you took some notes down. I should have told you to get your pen and paper out. And if you are a graduate or a parent or loved one of a graduate, congratulations. You made it to this level, you made it to this moment, but you are going to have many more amazing moments in your life. And I hope that you are here for it. I want to thank TW Popcorn, Most Hated Bronze Flat Power God, um, Miss Yo Yo, and Wheezy for dropping down into the chat and saying what's up. I appreciate that. For those of you watching this on replay, be sure to leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. And if you are a graduate, let me know, what school are you graduating for? Give it a shout out. And remember, stay connected. It's going to be important. That's going to be the most important thing. We lost so much connectivity because of COVID, and now people are really socially inept in many cases. They are having challenges with the social piece. They have anxiety over being around a large amount of people, and that can be a problem because we need everyone to collaborate and come together. So we need everyone, and just work on your mental health, work on your emotional, your physical, and your spiritual health so that you can be good. All right, everyone. Remember, every day practice. Practice so hard that when you get into play, you will always play to win. It's been my pleasure. Have a great evening, and I will talk to you soon.